Big debate tonight, folks. We'll see where this one goes, and we're going to talk about it today with Heather Ryan. We'll talk about the things that might be discussed and the things that should be discussed but probably won't be. Later in the program, Mike Carberry joins me to talk climate change.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Ed Fallon here, folks. Gateway Market and Cafe is your locally owned source for specialty groceries. Enjoy chef-crafted, prepared foods, artisan baked goods, organic produce, specialty cheeses, and hand-selected wines and craft beer. Visit the lively cafe for breakfast, lunch, or dinner 7 days a week. Gateway Market is centrally located on the corner of Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway and Woodland Ave. Stop by or visit www.gatewaymarket.com for more details. That's Gateway Market, folks. Good food, great community.
This moment of silence brought to you by Tally's Restaurant Bar and Catering, home of Des Moines' premier rooftop dining experience. Located in the heart of Beaverdale, Tally's offers speedy and affordable rooftop lunch, catering for events both large and small, innovative cuisine, as well as vegetarian and gluten-free menus. Come to Tally's for live music, dry-aged steaks, Sunday brunch, and all-you-can-eat ribs every Monday night. Tally's Restaurant Bar and Catering at 2712 Beaver Avenue. Call 279-2067. That's 279-2067.
Times are tough, and most people are just trying to make their cars last a little bit longer. That's why you should know about Sargent's Garage in Des Moines. You can trust Sargent's to make the right diagnosis and give you a fair price. Whether it's a routine oil change or a major repair, Sargent's always does outstanding work. So don't give up on that old car just yet. Call Sargent's Garage at 246-8149. That's 246-8149 for Sargent's Garage. Open Sesame is Des Moines' premier Lebanese cafe. This month, Open Sesame is offering an unbeatable lunch special on Monday and Tuesdays. Mention the Fallon Forum when you order anything on Open Sesame's delicious lunch menu and get the second item for half price. That's right, buy one, get one for half price. Open Sesame's pita wraps, salads, soup, and mouth-watering Mid-Eastern specialties will have you and your dining partner coming back again and again. Open Sesame at 313 East Locust Street in Des Moines' historic East Village.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Thank you, Brother Trucker, for the music kicking off the show. Thank you, Physicians for Social Responsibility and the Iowa chapter of the Sierra Club for helping to sponsor this program. And thank you also to Gateway Market for sponsoring this segment. And thank you to George McGovern, a long life of service to our country. And ahead of his time still. Interesting to me, the timing of his death. The timing of us, of remembering his recent death this weekend. It's in the news today, of course, in a big way. And one of the things we remember about McGovern is his staunch opposition to the Vietnam War. That memory comes on the same day, of course, that we're going to have a final debate on foreign policy. And I kind of wonder what McGovern would have to say about tonight's debate. But since we couldn't get George McGovern on the show today, we have Heather Ryan.
Not quite as good as George McGovern, I can assure you.
No,
he was far wiser than I.
Always enjoy having you part of this conversation. And I've been involved with politics a long time, and McGovern is before my time. He's been around he was around a long time, a very active career. And 1972, of course, the big run for president. That
was the year I was born. So he was running for president the year I was born.
Okay. Spring chicken you are.
Yeah, that's
All
me.
Right. So tonight's debate on foreign policy. Maybe we can start with looking at what the Des Moines Register contends that the two key partisan policy analysts contend will probably be the top subjects. And they are, of course, Madeleine Albright, the former Secretary of State during Clinton's administration, and then and also Elliot Cohen, who I'm not that familiar with, who was apparently is a foreign policy advisor to Mitt Romney, and was in the State Department under Condoleezza Rice. The first of the 5 items that they say are going to come up and will be probably pretty pointed would be the attack on Benghazi. The attack in Benghazi, Libya.
Right.
And I don't. That's something for some reason, I've never been able to get my mind around that. There's plenty of foreign policy issues that grab me in multiple ways. That one, I'm not sure what the right response would be. You have any thoughts on that, Heather?
Well, I mean, I really think that the Romney folks are going to try and hammer it home that there was some kind of lax attitude regarding Libya, and I think that's really the only thing foreign policy-wise they're going to be able to hammer. Because realistically, Obama's not been terrible on foreign policy. I mean, he's done a lot of the things that George Bush said he would do.
Yeah, we might disagree on that as we move forward.
That's
but on
okay.
this one, I'm not sure what else should have been done. It seems like Romney is trying to politicize something that logically shouldn't be.
It's not really politicizable. I mean, they're saying it took
and that's not really a word.
What do you mean? Uzbekistan isn't either? Are they going to bring that up?
If you were George Bush, you could make it a word. You're not George Bush.
So that's the thing. Really, Obama has been better than George Bush on foreign policy, or at least foreign relations. And, a lot of things George Bush said he was going to do, he didn't, but Obama has finalized or finished. So
some would argue that he's not been better than George Bush when it comes to drones, for example, when it comes to extending the war in Afghanistan.
But I agree with drones, but I also don't want to put American lives in jeopardy. So I get it, but I believe we should be out of the war entirely.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, and I want to talk more about that too. But also, I mean, we've got partisans claiming differences on Russia, on Iran, on Al Qaeda, those are. I mean, Libya is almost. I think when the election's over, you won't hear them talking about Libya at all because again, it is primarily Romney's attempt to politicize. Or what was the word you used?
Politicizable.
Yeah, okay. To make politicizable an issue that really shouldn't be. 244-0077, the number to call to join our conversation, 244-0077. Heather Ryan and myself are debating. Are we debating? No, we're kind of having a pre-debate debate. We're talking about tonight's foreign policy conversation, and you're welcome to join that conversation, folks. Going to be on from 8 to 9:30 tonight, and it could be more than just about foreign relations or military stuff, war and peace. It might also be about foreign trade. We'll see. That's an issue obviously very important to Iowa. Let's go to our phone lines. Let's go to John on line 1. Hello, John. Welcome to the show.
Well, thanks, Ed. Thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and hi, Heather.
Hi.
One of the issues that I wish the candidates would address tonight would be the question of Palestine, Israel, and specifically 15 leaders of Christian denominations in the U.S. have recently sent a letter to Congress urging Congress to is it okay, Ed, to read a couple sentences from this letter?
Sure.
Yeah.
As long as you're articulate.
Well, I'll give it a try. These Christian leaders from the U.S. Write, quote, "We urge an immediate investigation into possible violations by Israel, the U.S. Foreign Assistance Act, and the U.S. Arms Export Control Act, which respectively prohibit assistance to any country which engages in a consistent pattern of human rights violations and limit the use of U.S. weapons to, quote, internal security or, quote, legitimate self-defense. More broadly, we urge Congress to undertake careful scrutiny to ensure that our aid is not supporting actions by the government of Israel that undermine prospects for peace."
So alleging that Israel has committed human rights abuses is probably not a good starting point for either presidential candidate. They're probably not going to. They're probably not going to be asked that question, I assume.
I'm sure they won't, because there's a consensus among both parties and among the media to largely ignore the human rights violations that aren't just alleged but are well documented. These include killings of civilians, suppression of legitimate political expression and protest, home demolitions and forced displacement, use of prohibited weaponry in densely populated civilian areas.
And again, who is the letter signed by?
It's signed by 15 leaders of Christian denominations in the U.S., Ed, and I've got the list right here. It includes Presbyterian Church, Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, United Methodist Church, National Council of Churches, American Friends Service Committee, which is a Quaker group, the Mennonite Central Committee, the American Baptist Churches USA, United Church of Christ, Christian churches, et cetera, et cetera. So, kind of...
But not the Catholic Church.
There are two signers on here from one Maryknoll Office for Global Concerns, which is the Catholic, and also the Conference of Major Superiors of Men, which is a group I'd never heard of. But there are a couple Catholic signers to this letter. But it's the U.S. Christian leadership expressing concerns about an issue which, again, unfortunately, I don't think the candidates, they may have some slight differences of emphasis, but unfortunately, neither are criticizing Israel for these violations and looking at the unrestricted U.S. aid to Israel, which really ought to be an issue.
Well, unfortunately, if I can put my 2 cents in here, you're not going to see this brought up now or in the near future, I'm sure, for a couple of reasons. First of all, they're courting the Jewish vote, and that's very much needed, especially in the Obama campaign. But second, you're talking about guns and weaponry that we're selling to help them aid in these supposed atrocities, and I'm sure that they're documented. But this is a gun lobbying issue too, and this is a weaponry lobby. These are people that give to campaigns, that give to politicians. You're just not going to see them debating this issue, and we don't even support peaceful protests in our own country. So, let alone in other countries, I'm sure very much support them buying our weaponry. So you've got a lot of issues going on here, and I really don't see them bringing it up anytime in the near future because of that.
Well, it's not even a question of selling weaponry. What the U.S. is giving unrestricted military aid.
Someone buys those. Those aren't given for free. Someone buys them,
no,
and so
the U.S. gives $3 billion a year in the U.S. military aid to Israel. That's what this issue is about. Is unconditional aid to Israel. It's not a question of selling weapons to them. We're giving them.
And maybe Heather's point is that there's payback somewhere. Somebody who is responsible for making the decision to basically give those weapons to Israel is feeling some joy, and maybe in form of a campaign contribution or who knows what. There's got to be some payback.
Are very happy to continue arming the world. And like I say, we do sell to tremendous amounts. But
and it's a shame that there is not. And see, are you suggesting, John, there's no distinction between Obama and Romney on this issue?
No, I don't think. I don't work on the issue substantially, so I can't say that. My understanding is Romney is very close to Netanyahu, and would probably be less sympathetic to Palestinian concerns than Obama was. If you remember back in the 2008 campaign, Obama made the quote-unquote mistake of saying that Palestinians were suffering the most.
That's right. He got a little flack from that.
Just a little flack. Yeah. He got all kinds of flack for saying what most people acknowledge to be the truth.
When I ran for Congress, I was shocked that AIPAC took such interest in my candidacy. I mean, I know the race was fairly high profile because there were Democratic incumbents in Congress being challenged, and sometimes successfully, by progressive Democrats in the party. And AIPAC was... they were just, I could not believe how persistent, let me go to the point of saying annoying they were. They were haranguing me. They wanted me to come to Chicago. I said, I'm not coming to Chicago. They wanted an extended phone conversation. I said, look, I'm busy. You guys aren't in my district. They actually wanted to come to Des Moines and meet me for an hour. And I think I just finally said no to that as well. But they're relentless and well organized, in addition to having a bunch of money to throw into campaigns. And I mean, I'm a strong believer that Israel has an absolute right to exist and has done some good in the world. And I wish there was a way to get the two major party candidates for president and even other offices to talk about this seriously and without any bias.
Yeah, we won't get toward peace in the Middle East without those kind of discussions. So I agree with you.
Well, thanks for the call, John.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Anything further on that, Heather, or shall we go to another call?
I would say go to another call because that could be an entire week-long discussion. It's so intricate and there's so many issues, and we could go on for days about that at least. And they haven't settled this war in a lot longer than days. So. Yeah.
Well, 244-0077, the number to call, 244-0077, or long distance, 855-244-0077. That will land you a toll-free number to call. Let's go to Frank from Des Moines. Is this Mayor Frank County?
Yeah, this is me.
You don't sound like Frank. You sound too depressed.
Yeah. Hey, was the last voice on the radio, was that a caller or a guest?
Caller?
Oh, okay. Well, I wasn't sure.
Well, was it a male or a female? I guess
The male.
Oh, that was the
John.
caller.
Well, was his argument that he thinks Israel's the bad guy in this?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that Israel. There have been 15 heads of either denominations, Christian denominations, or significant players within those denominations have signed a letter saying there are human rights abuses. Something needs to be done about it. And,
Right. At least it needs to be investigated, I think is what they were saying.
And in today's context, it needs to be talked about in the debate. And I don't see that happening.
I don't either. I don't see that happening at all. And not because it doesn't need to, because it really does. If you want peace in the Middle East, there's a lot of really difficult issues that need to be tackled.
Well, you realize, and Ed cringes every time I mention Scripture, but you do realize scripturally there's no solution for that problem over there. You realize that, don't you?
No,
I'm not sure to whom you're speaking. I think I'm going to have to agree with Ed on this one.
Either one.
They shall beat their swords into plowshares, Frank, and their prunes into spearing hooks, or his spears into hooking prunes, or whatever. Yeah, there's a solution to every problem, Frank.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ed. They're
It's so pessimistic to say, oh, there's no solution because Scripture says that there's no solution. I'm a recovering Baptist, so I've read the Scripture, and I don't believe that there's no solution.
Well, you just realized that there was a promise made to Isaac, or to Abraham, that Isaac's seed would be as numerous as the sands in the sea.
Frank, yeah, this is where you do start losing me. Maybe I don't.
You know
or here's me cringing.
I'm losing you.
I am cringing, Frank, because we're talking about U.S. foreign policy, not about Abraham and Isaac. And I'm a Christian. I'm a religion major. Love all that stuff. Guides my life usually, and it's just not going to influence how I feel the appropriate policy
decision should be. But if Israel believes that they are a promised people, even though scripturally the gospel was given from the Jews to the Gentiles, so Elvis Dunn left the building, if you know what I'm saying. The Jews still believe that they've got this chosen status, and there's many politicians in the United States on both sides of the aisle who's trying to protect this status.
Frank, you know what?
Frank, thank you very much. Thank you very much. But I'm going to have to disagree here, Frank, because thank you very much. I think there is a solution. We just haven't found it yet.
Okay,
eventually it will be reached.
Pre-debate debate tonight. I guess that was the topic. Am I correct?
Let me give you another. What do you think is going to be? What are the issues that are going to be avoided today that should be talked about?
I have still not heard a satisfactory answer. I would like Mitt Romney to look Obama straight in the eye, and I would like to ask him why the UN ambassador, Susan Rice, was sent out to 5 talk shows on September the 16th to prolificate a lie that somehow our ambassador and 3 others was killed in Benghazi.
Oh, Frank, you missed the first segment of the show. We talked about that already.
Because of some spontaneous attack due to a movie trailer that had the whole area in an uproar.
Well, yeah, that's irresponsible social media journalism. Frank, we're going to move on to some other topics. We're kind of done. There's so much to talk about tonight. Thank you for calling. Watch the debate if you want, and we will be talking about it again tomorrow, maybe with a little more information. Folks, we got to go to a break shortly, but if you'd like to join the conversation, Heather and I will continue our banter. 244-0077. Obama had promised that he would do something about nuclear weapons in a big way, and I know that's a really, really difficult issue to tackle, and I know his stated positions are different than what we've seen from some of the Republican candidates. In the campaign itself, there's hardly been any conversation about it. I doubt we'll even see any conversation about that tonight.
Yeah, it's unfortunate too, because that's my big issue is the nuclear proliferation. But they just don't. People don't fear it the way they used to in the 80s. So it's just not the issue that it used to be. So I fear it, the whole annihilation thing. But
and you're not afraid of much.
I'm not afraid of you, Ed. I'm not afraid of Elvis. But nuclear proliferation is something to be. Maybe Frank. It could be scary. But I just don't see that people are afraid of it the way they used to be. So it's not going to be.
It doesn't feel as imminent as it did, except in the context of Iran.
Right. Right.
And I mean, and that's an issue. Yeah. I'm very unhappy with Obama on a lot of issues. I despise the use of drones. I think this use of drones is atrocious, and I don't see that being. Maybe that'll come up tonight, but I doubt it. But when it comes to nuclear weapons, at least he's been talking about some of the steps that should be taken in that direction. So, thank you, Heather. We're going to continue this conversation when we come back. 244-0077, the number to call. I want to thank Gateway Market for sponsoring that segment of the program. Gateway is at 20th and Woodland in the Sherman Hill neighborhood of downtown Des Moines. And if you haven't been there, you are a fool. Well, no, you're probably not. But you should go. They're a great store with a full line of groceries. They've got a wonderful cafe open for breakfast, lunch, and supper. And they do catering as well. I had a fantastic dinner last night of garden stuff, kale, potatoes, sweet potatoes, what else? Daikon radish, and a tomato. And some fantastic cheese from their 200-plus cheese selection area. I mean, they've got a phenomenal selection of cheese. And they got a cheese to go with every garden vegetable that I could possibly produce. So, folks, do check them out. Thank them for supporting this program, and thank them also for being a great community leader. They do a lot to support things that have helped make Des Moines the cultural and culinary crossroads of the continent. We'll be back in a minute.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Hey folks, it's Ed Fallon. I want to tell you about saving energy and saving money. Tim Reynolds with Reynolds Energy Solutions will give you a comprehensive energy audit that will cost you nothing. And Tim will identify the many ways in which you can reduce energy use while saving money. Now, I had Tim over for an audit last month, and I was amazed, I tell you, at how much energy was going through the roof, out the windows, the back door. You get it. So before the cold winds of winter really blow hard, give Tim a call at 802-2801. That's 802-2801.
Host is a locally owned restaurant in downtown Des Moines that focuses its food and philosophy on embracing simplicity. The majority of Host's food is from local farmers who practice sustainable and health-conscious agriculture. Much of what you'll find on your plate is a familiar comfort food, presented with a modern and tasty interpretation. Host is open for lunch Monday through Friday from 11 to 2, and also available for private dinner events and special themed dinners throughout the month. So, check out Host at 13th and Locust in Des Moines.
With warm weather finally here, it's time to think about upgrading the efficiency of your furnace and air conditioner. Leonard Tinker Heating and Cooling has provided honest, competent service for over 20 years. Whether it's your home or business, for repair work or to install a more energy-efficient furnace or air conditioner, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422. That's 263-0422. For honest, competent heating and cooling service, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422.
Wow, some wedding.
Yeah, I've never seen a bride in coveralls.
Right, and skipping down the aisle to accordion music.
Not to mention the reception. That wedding cake was a freaking fruit cake.
It's your wedding. Don't leave anything to chance. Diana's Wedding Cakes. Using only the finest, freshest ingredients with free on-time delivery and setup. Choose one of Diana's custom designs or create your own. Call Diana's Wedding Cakes, 641-275-9279. That's 641-275-9279.
Well, hi, I'm Rob Spearman. I'm a broker-owner of RE/MAX Real Estate Concepts in Des Moines, Iowa. Give us a call if you're looking at buying or selling a home, or if you're having trouble on your mortgage payments or looking to purchase foreclosures. We have the agents to help you, experienced, outstanding agents. Our office number is 515-276-2872. Or if you'd like to look at homes, go to our website, homeconnectusa.com.
There is hope. Visit groundwire.net and chat now with a live coach for answers.
Oh my God, Becky, did you see her bumper? I know she's had work done. Just last week, she had dimples and stuff all over, and now look.
Yeah, dimples and stuff. Yeah.
I'm Jamie Lasher from Minor Wreck Express. We're here to help with all the dents, dings, and drama of car ownership. Call 278-0101 or visit minorwreck.com for details. We'll see you in the fast lane.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
That's Mr. Baber's Neighbors, and our conversation continues in advance of tonight's debate. 8 to 9:30 p.m. tonight. If you can pull yourself away from Monday Night Football, it should be an important conversation, even though I am doubtful as to whether some of the key issues will be addressed. Again, issues that Ron Paul raises issues that should be addressed.
Ron Paul makes me puke, but keep going. Go on.
Ron Paul makes me think. I wish he made as much sense on some other issues as he makes on foreign policy.
Okay, keep going.
Okay.
I mean, Ron Paul is so misguided, and some of his ideas are just so naive. Now, I believe, as McGovern believed, that we shouldn't be in the war, but Ron Paul takes it a step further, and we shouldn't be anywhere in the world, and that's just naive and silly. And
and again, Ron Paul's not here to elaborate on that. That may be going too far. I don't even know if you'd find him agreeing with that. But
I don't know if Ron Paul would agree that he's naive and silly. I doubt he would.
Is he an isolationist? I don't know. I mean, is there?
He is.
To me, there's certainly an appropriate role for the U.S. within the UN. What I don't like is the U.S. acting as global policeman on its own. It's not the appropriate role of the U.S. military, and it's way more expensive. It's just a ridiculous amount of money for us to be spending. And then thirdly, and this is most important, this is where I think Ron Paul's right. He asked the question, why do they hate us? Why are we fighting people who just the more we fight them, the more they dislike us? Well, maybe it's because we are investing so much time and money in killing and disrupting and destroying.
I agree. Absolutely. That's why they hate us, because we have to put our finger in every single pie, I'm sure. And we assert our power in all cases for everything. But was he asking rhetorically, why do they hate us, or was he just being serious?
He was being serious. I mean, I think look at Africa. Africans liked George Bush. Obama at least has improved the status of the U.S. globally a bit.
You couldn't make it worse. From George Bush, you really couldn't make it worse.
More significantly at first, maybe, and maybe less so as time has gone on. But still, compared to Bush, there's no contrast. But Africans liked George Bush. Why? He wasn't bombing their villages. He was, in some cases, providing protection. In the cases where people, internal strife was causing loss of life and destruction, and they were providing money for AIDS research, for, clean water, for other things that were actually helping people. Why don't we do more of that? I don't see that. I really doubt that's going to come up in the conversation.
No, that won't come up at all, I'm sure. Maybe Romney dodging the draft and going and doing work abroad, that might come up. Who knows? But that won't come up. Why don't we help more countries? I'm sure it'll be, why do we send our jobs overseas? That'll be Obama attacking Romney. They'll try and integrate that whole thing, I'm sure. I would.
Yeah.
I would attack Romney on it if I could integrate it into the conversation.
You just like to attack, don't you?
I do. Especially, when I know that they have no retort. Come on, what's Romney going to say? I really didn't mean to send my jobs overseas. What's going to be his answer?
Yeah, but of course they've got to be careful not to offend the base, and by base in this case I mean the money base. There are. Dave Loebsack. I was absolutely appalled at one of his key staffers, who described Loebsack's vote in favor of the defense authorization bill as a vote for a jobs bill. And I clarified, do you mean the defense budget is a jobs bill? He said, yes, it's all about jobs.
How? How do they justify that?
All the military bases around
and the
the
military
country,
complex.
And again, you look at how much of what's happening overseas is being privatized, and so you've got companies making lots of money.
Huge money and no bid contracts.
Yeah, no bid contracts. And so, and those folks know that they've got a cash cow. It's the one area of the budget that doesn't get touched, Food stamps. Oh, we can slash those till the cows come home.
And it makes no sense.
Education.
Those are the things, food stamps, education, those are the things that don't make sense to slash. It makes sense to slash military budget. And I was in the military.
Yeah.
And I worked civil service on a base.
The Navy, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But it makes sense to slash when you're in the military and you have a budget, okay, I have this much budget to spend every year, and you don't spend it, you lose that money at the end of the year. So we would buy so much crap that we didn't need at the end of the year just to make sure we spent all our money.
Like for what kind of examples?
Oh my Lord, we must have had 400 million pens in our office just because we had to spend the money. And the government pens, little black pens, the clicky pens, they haven't changed in years. Those weren't cheap. They were like $1 a pen. They were really expensive pens, but we just had stacks and stacks of them because if you don't spend the money, you don't get it next year. And of course, you want the money next year.
So you don't need pens the next year. Then what do you spend the money on next year?
Sticky notes.
Sticky notes.
And notepads and papers sprouting out our wazoo. I mean, every kind of office supply we could have possibly wasted money on, we did, just so we could spend our budget to make sure we got it the following year.
Yeah.
So when people say that the budget can't be, it's the military, don't cut the budget. You really can cut the budget.
So where we seem to cut corners on the military budget is when it comes to taking care of our troops when they come home.
Right.
Right.
It's asinine. That's the one thing that we really shouldn't be cutting because those people have put a sacrifice into this world. But do I really need 4 million sticky notes? No. But am I going to spend the money? Yeah, I am, because that's the way it works. You have to spend the money or else you don't get it next year.
All right, 244-0077, folks, if you want to join the conversation, 244-0077. You can also email me at fallonforum@gmail.com. And later in the program, Mike Carberry will be joining us. We're going to talk climate change. And tomorrow, Ron Yarnell and perhaps some others too will be joining the conversation to talk about what we experienced in the debate. Again, what was said, what wasn't. We're kind of doing our best as clairvoyants here, prognosticating what might be talked about and what might be avoided. And again, back to Ron Paul. And I know you're a huge Ron Paul non-fan.
Right, I'm not a fan.
Yeah, but at least he was willing to challenge the military-industrial complex. At least he was willing to say, look, they hate us because of what we're doing with our military, and I don't hear that coming from Obama, who has just again escalated the war in Afghanistan.
And it's interesting because Obama could say these things. There's no reason he's not. It's not like he has to court the military vote because they're not voting for him. I'm convinced I was the only Democrat in the military ever. So he doesn't need to court that vote.
Why do you think military personnel would not be supporting Obama?
Military personnel have never supported Democrats as long as I've been involved with the military. For some reason, they think military goes hand in hand with Republicans, conservatives, people that will give us more money.
Kind of like fiscal responsibility. Yark, 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 yark.
Which is the exact opposite of the military complex.
Well, and look at the worst budget deficits in history have been accumulated under Republican presidents. And that's not to say, maybe Bill Clinton did a better job because of the economy that he happened to inherit in his presidency.
Well, remember, Bill Clinton de-escalated the military. So when I was it was under Bill Clinton, and he was de-escalating, and that was very unpopular with the military rank and file. So they were moaning and complaining about their budgets being cut, but their budgets really did need to be cut, and we really did need to de-escalate because we didn't have the need. We weren't abroad like we were.
So by de-escalation, you mean less pens, less sticky notes?
Yeah, it's exactly what I mean, and fewer people in the personnel. So you'd decommission ships and you'd take people off the. You just. Yeah. Do you want out of the military early? Okay, well, we're de-escalating. So
we've had even more pointed examples than that by our own Republican Senator Grassley, who's called attention to the $500 toilet seats and.
That's real. Unfortunately, I'm not
hammers.
A Grassley fan either, but it's real. We really do spend that kind of stuff.
Now, you were in the military. You were in the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
What's it like to sit on a $500 toilet seat?
Well, those are not made for the enlisted ass.
Oh.
Those are for officers. I wouldn't know.
You've got to be an upper echelon butt to enjoy one of the $500 toilet seats.
I was enlisted.
Okay.
I went to the military to get the GI Bill. I got the GI Bill. I received my education at Drake. So I'm not the person that $500 seat was made for.
Sorry. Maybe you'll have to re-enlist.
Me too.
All right,
no, enlisted, no. Become an officer, maybe.
Sorry. Yes, okay. So anyway, my question during the debate is, what would George McGovern do? What would George McGovern do? What would George McGovern say about foreign policy?
Is this kind of like Jesus? What would Jesus do? What would George McGovern do?
Yeah, it's similar. They're a lot closer on foreign policy, in my opinion. I know Frank would disagree, but they're a lot closer on foreign policy than either Obama or Romney would be with, I think, my take on what Scripture is saying. But again, we're not going to talk about that. Frank's going to call again. I shouldn't have said that. But yeah, what would McGovern say or do about this? The guy who was vocal about how wrong the Vietnam War was well before his time, who has continued to be a prophetic voice. Times have caught up with McGovern to some extent, but he's still ahead of the curve. And at what point, the country is going bankrupt. I mean, we are rapidly being surpassed by China, by the European Union. I know the European Union is in trouble, but gosh, admit it, on many levels, on many indicators, they're doing better than we are.
Certainly.
On energy, on healthcare, on employment issues. There's a higher unemployment level, but among those who have jobs, there's greater satisfaction, greater security, and in India as well. I mean, we are rapidly losing our standing as the leader of the leading nation in the world.
What's
in terms
interesting,
of innovation,
though,
technology, and whatnot.
Americans will never admit that. So you'll say it, and I'll say it, and some other academics might say it, but the average Joe will not say they're doing better than us in healthcare. The average Joe will say we have such amazing healthcare in the United States, and it's just so inaccurate. Yeah. They're so prideful that they don't see it. It's like they're blinded by their pride.
Yeah, and one reason is we are spending. We want to be the world's police.
Yes.
I think
really
most
do.
people don't want that.
Most people don't get it, that we're the world's police. They haven't traveled abroad. They haven't seen that we really are the world's police. We have our finger in every pie.
We're the world's police for a reason. I mean, I think one reason is, again, it's about jobs and money. It sustains an element
Mostly
of the economy,
money.
and it sustains political candidates who get money from interests that want to see us spend this amount of money. Mm-hmm. But it's also about maintaining our economic advantage. I mean, if you look at the history of conflicts in Central and South America, it is absolutely appalling what we did through the CIA and with our military, sometimes covertly, sometimes overtly, to put down democratic initiatives in countries. You can only begin to name them. Chile. Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador,
Nicaragua.
I mean, and millions of people dying because of our foreign policy decisions that were based on. I mean, we ostensibly painted the picture of we've got to contain communism.
Right. It's just silly.
Yeah, it was silly, and it really was about containing democratic uprisings to support local economic initiatives, like in Guatemala with the land being appropriated from a major U.S. corporation that was dominating banana production and given back to the people. That's unacceptable. Even though it's your land, it's unacceptable to us, and so we send the CIA down in 1954 to straighten that mess out. I mean, and that happened in Iran, and those chickens are still coming home to roost. And it just, at some point, we have to pay the piper on that. It'd be nice to start with admitting that we've had a foreign policy that was not about containing communism, that it's not about fighting terrorism. It's about maintaining economic hegemony.
That's never going to happen. You've got to sell it to the people. And if you sell it, but we're trying to contain communism or we're trying to contain terrorism, that's how they're selling it to the people, and the people are eating it. And it's unbelievable that people buy that. Yeah, right. It's astounding, and it's disappointing that people are so naive that they'll just buy it just whole hog.
Well, and look at the comment, and good point, and look at the comments made by Madeleine Albright on the Democratic side and Elliot Cohen on the Republican side regarding al-Qaeda. When asked how the two candidates, Romney and Barack Obama, would describe al-Qaeda in their messaging tonight, Albright said simply, quote, Osama bin Laden is dead and its central mechanism, al-Qaeda's central mechanism has been decimated. And that is so pathetic. I mean, do you think that's pathetic?
I don't think it's pathetic. I think it's sorry. Pathetic might be a little too far, but they're grasping and they're saying, "Look, we've got this thing to raise up above our heads and say, yay!" But that's a pretty sorry. Yeah, I mean, it's lame.
To try to somehow imagine that Al Qaeda has been decapitated or decimated, I guess, because of the death of one guy.
Right.
It doesn't work that way. This is I think Al Qaeda is horrible, and certainly we've seen plenty of horrible things they've done that the entire world has railed against. But to try to imagine that we have taken the sting out of that gnat by killing one guy, when what we're doing, we're feeding that gnat every single day through our foreign policy.
Absolutely,
we're the best recruitment machine out there for Al Qaeda. Yeah, and you want to again. I can't. Again, that's probably Obama's message. Al Qaeda is under control because we killed Osama bin Laden. Only took him 10 years. I actually agree with. I like what the Republican guy is saying on this more. Not that I have any confidence that Romney would do anything I like at all on this issue, but at least Cohen says, look for, quote, awareness that maybe we really haven't dealt with the problem quite as decisively. I agree with that, but I'm afraid where he wants to go on that. It's not somewhere I want to go.
Right. He's trying to say that Obama hasn't done enough. And realistically...
Hasn't killed enough people.
Right. Realistically, we haven't done enough diplomatically. But that's not what he's saying. He's saying, let's point the finger at Obama and make sure that Romney gets in office, which is really scary. That's really, really scary. When George Bush took office, I said, how bad can it be? Come on, it's 4 years. And it was so much worse than I thought it would be. It was so much worse than I thought it could ever be. So I think Romney would be much the same.
Last question, Heather. Who will win tonight's debate?
The American people? No. I'm hoping that Obama pulls it out.
Wrong answer.
God, I hope that
you know who's going to win tonight's debate?
Nobody.
The military-industrial complex is going to win tonight's debate. Anyway,
and I know you're right. Unfortunately,
still worth watching. And it'll be worth talking about tomorrow. So
I'll watch it. I'll enjoy it. I'll hopefully get some chuckles out of Obama and Romney going head to head. But
Heather Ryan, folks. Formerly enlisted with the U.S. Navy, a talent manager,
former congressional candidate.
Former
I've done
congressional
it all.
candidate, occasional Occupy protester, and unsuccessful in her trial.
Unfortunately. I'm successful in knowing that I was right.
You're right.
That's all that matters. All right. I was successful in my own heart.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
When we come back, folks, Mike Carberry will be with us. We're going to talk climate change, and as a segue into that, I want to remind you to go out and get your energy audit before it's too late. Well, actually, it will never be too late, but it's a good idea to get it before the weather gets too crazy cold. Heather had one done.
I have one scheduled.
Scheduled, okay.
Yes.
And look at how warm and toasty you're going to be.
I know.
You won't even need a sweater anymore.
Thank the Lord.
Now, Tim is worth calling at 802-2801, 802-2801. The energy audit is free, no cost to you. It helps support this program, and it helps give you ideas on what you can do to cut your energy use and to also save money. But most important, to cut your energy use, because we can't, I know it's been a beautiful weekend, but climate change, we got to do something about that. And we're going to talk again with Mike Carberry about that issue when we come back on the Fallon Forum.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Well, good morning. This is the 7th of June in the Lord's year 2010, and this is day one of webcast1live.com. We will begin with Max World Live with my special guest, Tom Coates. In just a minute, there's Tom. Wait, howdy. And we will be live for the very first time on Webcast One Live. Someday we're going to look back on this and say, gosh, remember that old day in history? Wonder where Walter Cronkite was. He must have been around hanging there too. But actually, it's the beginning of Webcast One Live. And thank you for listening. Thanks, Rob Spearman, and everybody who's put together this project together. And we're ready to go live now. So thanks for listening to MaxWorldLive.com.
I can't tell you that it's going real well from time to time, but it is going.
Hi folks, it's Ed Fallon here. Proof Restaurant at 13th and Locust. You've probably been there for their award-winning, nationally recognized lunch specials. Well, now Proof is open Thursdays and Fridays for supper. And here's where the chefs really get creative. Let me tell you, they're like artists, okay? I've been there, and it is one of the best meals I have had in Des Moines. I've heard that from other people. You got to check it out. Proof for supper, Thursdays and Fridays, and also the second Saturday of the month. Do not assume you can get in. Make reservations. Contact Proof Restaurant online at proofrestaurant.com or 244-0655. That's 244-0655. Hi folks, Ed Fallon here. When it is time to entertain, think of Gateway Market. Let them handle the details. Gateway offers a wide variety of stress-free options like cut-to-order cheese and charcuterie. There's a delicious olive bar and a wide variety of chef-prepared dips and spreads. Or let the catering team take care of the entire event, right down to the wine and beer pairings. The expert floral designers can even customize the perfect centerpieces. So stop by or visit Gateway Market for more information. Gateway is at Woodland and ML King in downtown Des Moines. Good food, great entertaining.
Nestled in the heart of downtown, Ritual Cafe is one of Des Moines' most unique places, offering a wide variety of coffee and tea. Ritual Cafe also serves the only all-vegetarian menu in town. And Ritual Cafe is a cultural hub for artists and musicians, with a performance stage hosting local, national, and international talent. Make Ritual Cafe a part of your daily ritual. On 13th Street between Locust and Grand in downtown Des Moines. And check out ritualcafe.com.
I love driving to Newton to see the races.
Me too, but I only have to drive across town.
You live in Newton?
Yep, Newton's got small town charm and it's close to Des Moines. I love the safe, friendly neighborhoods and family-owned businesses. And Newton's wind energy industry is really taking off.
How'd you find your home?
Dan Kelly with First Choice Realty. And Dan helped me find my office too.
Next time, instead of just speeding by, I'll stop in and check out Newton.
Why don't you check out Newton? Call Dan Kelly at 641-521-9260 or Dan Kelly at mchsi.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Welcome back, and thanks to Pumptown for that tune. It's Bicycle, one of my favorite tunes. Yeah, because of the name, sure, but also I like the tune. And I like Pumptown. They're a great little band from Ringgold County. This segment of our show is sponsored by Proof Restaurant, and I want to thank Mike Carberry for expending lots of carbon to get here. Mike drove, from Iowa City?
I did.
Okay. And you are, what's your organizational affiliation, Mike?
I'm with Friends of the Earth. I've been with Friends of the Earth for a couple years, and, they're a full-fledged environmental organization, been around for about 40 years. We're in 77 countries. And I've mostly been working on nuclear power here in the state of Iowa for the last few years, working on Mid-Americans.
Successfully.
Successfully. It'll be coming back. But Friends of the Earth has tasked me with a campaign just for the last maybe 1 month of the campaign, and there's only 2 weeks left.
1 month of the presidential campaign.
Yes, exactly. And we have a swing state project that's going on right now in Iowa and Ohio that I'd love to tell you all about.
Iowa was at one point was not regarded as a swing state. It looked like Obama would walk off with the place, but that's changed. I think it's very competitive here.
I think it's very competitive all over. I was doing a lot of math yesterday looking, and it really looks like Ohio is the key state for the whole election, but Iowa plays a very, very important part in it, as well as Wisconsin and a few other states.
If it's close enough, Iowa's six electoral votes could make
absolutely.
Could make the
and we're probably going to see Romney, if things go the way that they look to be going, will probably win the popular vote, but lose the Electoral College, which that's another show in entirety. But,
and in that case, he would be the Al Gore of the Republican Party in the 21st century. But,
speaking of climate change, it was Al Gore that got me into this business 15 years ago when I worked on his '98 campaign and read his first book on global warming, is what we called it. And now we call it global climate change or climate disruption. But it is probably
crisis.
Yeah, the climate crisis is probably the most important issue of our generation because it has a potential to destroy the world that we live in, and we're really not addressing it. And where we're really not addressing it is our leadership that is running for the leader of the free world, if you will, are not mentioning global warming or climate change at all in the debates. It's barely mentioned on the stump every now and then by President Obama.
So, Obama talked, all the Democratic presidential candidates talked about the importance of addressing the problem back in 2008.
Yes, they did.
It's not happening. We haven't seen much on much under Obama's watch his first term. Presuming he gets the second term, I don't know what to
He's
expect.
actually done quite a bit towards climate change. He doubled the CAFE standards, which is the corporate average fuel economy of our vehicles coming out of Detroit has to be, I think, 54 miles per gallon by 2020.
So why isn't he talking about that?
He should be.
Okay.
He should be. And all they want to talk about is who can be the king of clean coal, which, if you've ever seen my stuff on Facebook, every time the word clean coal is mentioned, I always mention that it's a dirty lie, and then it's an oxymoron like a military intelligence or political ethics, or that clean coal is like dry water. I mean, it is the unicorn fuel. It just does not exist. Yeah. So what we really think is happening is both candidates are kowtowing to what I call big carbon, which is the fossil fuel industry. Right. The people that have basically run a $100 million a year climate change denial campaign since Al Gore's movie came out to make people not think that it's still debatable. Yeah. Well, the jury is in. Climate change is real. It's largely from man-made causes. Yeah. It's deadly serious.
And most of the money coming to present a different point of view is funded by folks like the Koch brothers or interest groups, industry that has a vested interest in not seeing this debate lead to policy changes that really control carbon emissions.
That's correct. They want to maintain the status quo. The status quo is that we're using a lot of carbon-based fuels, and they're making money hand over fist.
Okay, so you've got, again, Obama, it had slipped my mind, but yes, he's done some good things on CAFE standards.
Yes.
He's also authorized further offshore oil drilling. He's also opened up more public lands to drilling.
Yes.
He hasn't exactly done anything to restrict the coal industry.
That's not true.
Really?
The EPA has really come down on carbon emissions from coal plants in the last few years.
No, and again, that is good.
Yes.
Yeah, but do we credit Obama with that?
Well, yes. It's Lisa Jackson, his EPA administrator, that has really put the teeth back into the Clean Air Act and the Clean Water Act, which we're celebrating 40 years this year. Right. And, of course, one of our greatest environmental presidents, Richard Milhouse Nixon, and they started the EPA, the Clean Water Act, the Clean Air Act, and why can't we get a Democrat to step up and be a true environmentalist and really care about this? I mean, and you were talking about the military-industrial complex in your last segment. I mean, it's very similar with the carbon industries. I mean, it affects entire portions of the country. You'll have Democrats from West Virginia protecting the coal industry, and you'll have Democrats from Louisiana in the South protecting the oil industry. And of course, you'll have Democrats from Iowa and the Midwest protecting, the so-called biofuel industry.
Well, and we have Democrats too, like Leonard Boswell, who protect the coal industry, even though coal's not really a big player here in Iowa.
Yeah, you know something a little bit about that. Running against a blue dog. Well, this is what we're trying to bring light to in this campaign. And so what we're going to do, now I'm a Democrat, I've already voted for the president, but I feel, and many feel, that this is the time that we can hold his feet to the proverbial fire. If they won't listen to us now and actually start talking about this, then what makes you think that they're going to bring it up in his next term? He could just go business as usual.
Yeah. So why? Again, you got by all the impression you got in the campaign in 2008. He really understood the problem. He really got it, even though the clean coal thing. What?
He does. He does get it, and so it's not. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I don't. And your campaign is nonpartisan. I mean,
that is correct.
You're not. You're focused on the issue.
Yes.
So you don't get into any trouble by saying you voted for Obama?
No, No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm a private citizen. I'm allowed to do that. I'm an elected official of the Democratic Party, and there's going to be people that are mad at me for trying to hold my party leader to, accountable. Yeah. But this is the most important issue that we've ever faced, and if we don't deal with it now, it may be too late.
What are some of Romney's prognostications on the issue that might instruct us as to how he would act as president if he wins the election?
Well, he denies. I mean, he's flip-flopped on everything, right? And in 2008, he actually in 2003, when he was governor, he signed a regional carbon trading pact called Reggie. He really said some wonderful and correct things about global warming at the time, but then when he started running for president here in Iowa in 2007, then he flip-flopped then and made jokes about Al Gore and global warming, and that it's global warming, it's not U.S. warming, and made jokes about India and China. Well, the fact is we need to show moral leadership on this issue. We are 5% of the world's population, yet we emit 25 to 30% of the carbon. So if the United States does not show moral leadership on this issue, then where can we?
Yeah, and that statistic is changing, of course, because China is now the largest emitter of carbon gases.
But per capita, we are still,
right.
that jingoistic, we're number one, comes back, we're number one by far.
Yeah.
And this is where, we need to do more conservation, we need to do more energy efficiency, we need to switch to, more renewables. And there's another difference between Romney and Obama is that Romney does not support the PTC. He wants to get rid of the production tax credit, which has led to the production tax credit. We now have 8,000 jobs in the wind industry in the state of Iowa. We've already lost in the last year almost 1,000 of them because
of the lack of the credit being extended.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
And Romney wants to get rid of that. So there's a difference between
there's obviously a domestic side to the issue of climate change.
Yes.
And there's certainly an international side as well.
Absolutely.
We've been the one major nation that has resisted any attempt to try to move forward collectively across the globe on the issue. But do you see this coming up in tonight's debate? I mean, the focus is on international affairs.
Yes.
And this easily is an international affair. Do you see it coming up tonight?
No, I don't. I mean, realistically, I don't think it will. The biggest loser in tonight's debate is going to be the planet. The military-industrial complex will be the winner. You said that earlier.
So you're going to say I called that one right?
I think you did, and
Okay.
and Mother Earth will be the loser, and in the long run, our children and our children's children, will be the loser.
Okay. Well, with that in mind, what do you say to people who say, okay, so yeah, maybe there's some difference between Obama and Romney, but it's not enough to get me excited to vote for one of those two candidates. I'm going to vote right in Ron Paul, or I'm going to go vote for the Green Party candidate, or maybe even Gary Johnson, or I'm going to stay home. What do you say to people who feel the difference is not enough to inspire them to go out and support Obama?
Well, I want people to support the planet and not necessarily Obama or Romney. I want people to hold their elected officials accountable. And if they won't tell us what they're going to do, well, Romney has told us that he wants to eliminate the EPA. So obviously, I don't think people should vote for him. I would like to see people vote for the candidate of their choice. I mean, Jill Stein from the Green Party is wonderful on these issues.
And absolutely going to go nowhere beyond maybe 1% of the vote.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if you support the environment, do you support Jill Stein as, if you're in a state that's not a swing state, I would suggest you might vote for Jill Stein if you're in a state that's not a swing state or a battleground state. But in a battleground state like Ohio and Iowa, you should probably support the candidate that's probably going to do the best on this. But that we still need him to talk about what he's going to do. And all of the above energy strategy that includes fracking and clean coal and nuclear power, that is not the answer to climate change.
Yeah, and fracking is a new process, a process that has not received a lot of attention yet.
That's great.
There is a strong movement opposing it out east. I witnessed that myself when I was in New York for the Occupy Wall Street 1-year anniversary. But the fracking itself is, I think, something that people don't understand well enough to really wrap their minds around why they should be concerned about it. What's your basic talking point on that issue?
Natural gas is a good transition fuel as we move from a really heavily intensive carbon like coal and oil to move toward cleaner fuels. Well, natural gas burns 50% cleaner. But if we are destroying our water, which is the real issue with fracking, because of the way that it's extracted the natural gas, they inject 250 some odd chemicals that they won't tell us what it is.
They don't have to tell us what they are.
Yes.
Really?
Because of something called the Cheney Amendment. When we had the energy industry write our environmental policies, this is where the fracking policies came from, was under George W. Bush and Cheney. So this is called the Cheney Amendment to the Energy Act of, I think, 2005, possibly. And
so, yeah, all these chemicals going into the, way down.
Yes. And then
getting into the aquifer, I assume?
Yes. I recommend people go onto YouTube, and there was a wonderful documentary, if they haven't seen it, called Gasland. But but on YouTube, there's a great clip of a guy lighting his faucet on fire because he lives out in the country with a well, and his well has been just
It actually
destroyed.
happened?
It happens, and it happens not only at his place,
Really?
but people all over the Marcellus Shale region, which is Pennsylvania and New York and the East Coast, and then there's shale buried over about 50% of the United States, so it's potential fracking land.
Yeah, I'd love to have you back on to talk about this issue sometime.
Yeah,
Mike.
exactly.
It's relevant not just to the national debate, but also specifically to Mid-America, Alliance interest in a new gas-fired power plant in Marshalltown.
Yes.
Which everybody seems to be lining up in favor of.
Well,
but that's another conversation.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Let me tell you a little bit more about the Climate Silence Project if we've got time.
We got about a minute.
What we're doing is we're going to Romney and Obama events. We're wearing T-shirts that say "Climate Silence Kills." We're going to be wearing masks of both the president and the governor Romney. They'll look like this. Can you see that?
I can see that. Yeah.
That's the president of the United States.
I've seen that. I've seen that in stories in the paper.
Yes, and that's us.
Okay.
And what the masking tape is not. We don't have him in bondage. They're being silenced by the oil company,
By the industry.
By the industry, and we want them to start speaking up about
And
this.
the only reason the industry can silence a politician is because it gives them so much money for their campaigns. They
Ding,
feel,
ding, 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 ding,
yeah,
ding,
they
ding.
feel beholden to them. They feel beholden to them. I mean, if you don't play that game, well, I mean, you could argue you don't win either. But that's the sorry situation we're in. You know, it's so much money.
The best political system that money can buy, Ed.
Well, we've got it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Michael, thanks so much for joining us.
You're
Mike
welcome, Ed.
Carberry, folks, with Friends of the Earth. If you want to get a hold of Mike, what do you do?
I would say email me at Mike Carberry, MikeCarberry @gmail.com. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me, and I'll plug you into the project in the last couple of weeks. We need some help. We need some bodies that want to go out and make a ruckus.
And with a donation of $50 or more to the Friends of the Earth, you get one of these masks. No, I
Probably.
made that up. I made that up.
I could probably swing that.
Masking tape not provided, or duct tape rather not provided. Mike, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome,
folks,
Ed.
tomorrow Ron Yarnell's going to join me tomorrow, and we may have some other folks tuning in, weighing in as well, as we look at the debate from tonight and talk about the significance of what was said and what wasn't, and how it might impact the last week and a half of voting. Because remember, it's not really election day anymore, it's election month. And we are halfway through the voting cycle. Maybe you've already voted. Mike has. Me, I'm old-fashioned. I wait for election day. But that's just me. More and more people are voting early. If you have, it's still worth tuning in to see what's going to be said and what isn't going to be said. So we'll look forward to that conversation. Plenty more planned later this week. Bradshaw will be with you next at 1:30. I want to thank again all of our business supporters, and I want to thank in particular Proof Restaurant. Proof is now doing dinner from Wednesday through Saturday night, in addition to their fantastic lunches. And I can't tell you enough about how wonderful the food is. The chefs are very creative, using a lot of local ingredients, and providing some of the best meals that you can get in the Des Moines Metro. So again, check them out at 13th and Locust in downtown Des Moines, and I highly recommend reservations. That's proofrestaurant.com. We'll be back tomorrow, folks, on the Fallon Forum.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.